It started with something so small that I almost ignored it. That is what makes it dangerous. Not the big things, not the loud things. It is the small things that slip into your life quietly, until you can no longer pretend they are normal. I was walking through my hallway one night after turning off the lights in the kitchen. The apartment was silent, too silent. I remember the sound of my own footsteps, because there was nothing else to hear. I passed the hallway light, and for a moment I caught something out of the corner of my eye, my shadow. It did not move with me. At first I thought I was mistaken, so I took another step, then another. I watched the wall carefully this time. My body moved forward, my shadow stayed behind. Just a little, not enough to scream, not enough to run, just enough to make my skin feel cold. I stopped. The shadow stopped too, but a beat later, like it had to think about it. I stood there for several seconds, staring at the wall, waiting for it to do something else. It did not. So I told myself I was tired, that I had been looking at it wrong, that the light in the hallway was old and flickering, and maybe my eyes were playing tricks on me. But even after I went to bed, I kept thinking about that delay. A shadow is supposed to follow you. Mine had hesitated. I did not sleep well that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I kept seeing that shadow on the wall. I woke up a few times and checked the hallway just to make sure everything was normal. It was, at least, that is what I thought. I was standing in my room, not doing anything important, just waiting for a video to load on my phone. The lamp beside my desk was on, and my shadow was stretched long behind me on the wall. I looked at it because I could not help myself. Something about it still bothered me. I remember standing very still, trying to prove to myself that it was just my imagination. Then I saw it. The shadow did not look quite right. My body was facing the desk, but the shadow had turned slightly to one side. Not much, just enough to notice that it looked like it was looking at something behind me. I felt the air in the room change. That is the only way I know how to describe it. It was as if the room had noticed something before I did. I did not turn around immediately. I stayed frozen, staring at the wall, trying not to breathe too loudly. The shadow remained turned, waiting, watching something I could not see. Finally, I turned around slowly, expecting to see nothing. There was nothing there, but that did not make me feel better. It made me feel worse, because now I knew the problem was not behind me. The problem was attached to me. After that, I started paying attention to every shadow I saw, on walls, on the floor, in the kitchen, in the bathroom mirror. Everywhere I went, I found myself checking to see if it still behaved the way it should, and for a while it did, or at least it pretended to. And when I was sitting on my bed at night, scrolling through my phone, the room was dark except for the light from the screen and the small lamp on my desk. I was tired, nervous, already thinking too much. Then I noticed movement on the wall beside me, not from my body, from the shadow. I looked up slowly. My shadow had lifted one arm, just a little, like it was testing whether I was paying attention. My own arm was still on the bed, not moving. I remember my mouth going dry. I remember the room feeling suddenly too small, like the walls had moved closer around me. The shadow held that position for a moment longer. Then it lowered its arm again, slowly, calmly, like it had not done anything strange at all. I dropped the phone on the bed and stared at the wall. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I did not move for a long time, because I was afraid that if I moved, it would move too, but not in the same way. I kept thinking one terrible thought: if it can move when I do not, then maybe it can move when I am not looking. I wish I could say I did not notice it right away, but I did. I was walking toward the bathroom with the hallway light on behind me. The floor was polished, and the shadow should have been simple to read. Easy, normal, but it was not. My shadow was pulling in the wrong direction. It did not follow the light the way it should have. Instead of stretching in front of me, it stretched backward, behind me, against the light, like something was grabbing it and trying to drag it away from my feet. I stopped walking. It did not stop at the same moment. It kept stretching for another second, almost like it had momentum of its own. That was the moment fear really set in. Not suspicion, not doubt. Fear, the kind that makes your stomach feel like it is dropping through the floor. I stood there staring at the hallway, afraid to take another step. The shadow slowly settled again, but it did not settle correctly. It looked too long, too thin, like it had been pulled out of shape. I backed away from the light. The shadow moved too, but it moved in a way that felt late and eager at the same time. That was when I understood something terrible. It was no longer simply following me. It was learning how to exist without me. It is the one that makes me check every corner of every room before I lie down. It does not need a wall. It does not need anything at all. I found that out one night when I was lying in bed, with every light turned off. The room was completely dark. No lamp, no hallway light, no glow from the window, just blackness. I was awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to force my mind to calm down. Then I felt something beside the bed. Not a sound, not a movement, a presence. Something standing there so close I could feel it without seeing it. I opened my eyes wider and tried to make out shapes in the dark. At first there was nothing. Then I saw it, my shadow, standing beside me, in the dark, not on the wall, not on the floor, beside me, like a person. It moved closer, slowly, carefully, as if it was learning my shape. I could not scream, I could not move. I could only watch as it leaned toward me, and for one awful second I thought it was going to touch me. Then everything went quiet. I must have fallen asleep, or passed out. I do not know. When I woke up, the room looked normal again. Almost. I turned on the lamp and looked at the wall. The light was there. The wall was there. But my shadow was not. I stood there for a long time, waiting for it to appear. It never did, and that is the worst part, because now I know it did not vanish. It left, and something else stayed behind.